people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
To the mother relay, we're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Yesterday, Gervonta Davis posted a tweet that reads, "Done."
What's done?
Most people assumed he was referencing the Ryan Garcia fight, the long-awaited, long-anticipated Ryan Garcia fight.
Ryan Garcia, on his own social media, stated done deal.
Seemingly echoing Gervonta Davis' sentiments that the fight between them, is a done deal. In truth, this potential fight is riddled with problems that would need to be worked around. Whether you're excited about the fight or not, those are realities. Ryan Garcia fights on the DAZN platform, whereas Gervonta Davis is exclusive to Showtime. Ryan's promoted by Golden Boy. Gervonta's promoted by Mayweather Promotions.
I'm not even denying that it's a big fight. It's a very big fight if they can get it over the line, but getting it over the line...
Let's see if they can, because there's a lot there to have to work around. I didn't forget that Oscar De La Hoya, he had an aversion to sending Jaime Munguia over to the Showtime platform. When Showtime made Jaime an offer to come over to their side of things for one fight to take on their champion, Jermall Charlo, Oscar would have none of it, not unless DAZN could be involved. And
if he didn't want to send over Jaime, you think he's going to want to send over Ryan?
It's a legitimate question. It seems like both Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis, the last couple of weeks, last couple of months, have been hinting at a potential showdown between them towards the end of the year. But when Gervonta Davis says things like, "I'm just fucking around, I'm bored on this plane,"
well, that lets the air out of the tires.
Suddenly the paying customers, the consumers waiting on this fight, they don't know whether this fight actually has any traction or not. In truth, Ryan Garcia can afford to wait because he is several years younger than Gervonta Davis, so time, as it were, time really is on Ryan's side more than Gervonta's.
I'm not suggesting that he wait. I'm saying without condoning or condemning. If Ryan were to wait...
If they don't fight at the end of this year, it's really no skin off of Ryan's back because he's several years younger than Gervonta Davis anyway.
The more time they put between Ryan and that fight, the more opportunities he gets to become a better, more complete fighter, under the watchful eye of Joe Goosen.
When it comes to Gervonta, I feel like here and now, he's about as good as he's going to be, based on the caliber of opponents that he has been fighting. This is it.
He's 27 years old.
27 going on 28. He's not exactly some young up-and-comer who's in the developmental stages of his career anymore. At this point, what you see from Gervonta is what you get. And this is a fighter who lost a couple of rounds to a Mario Barrios, lost a couple of rounds to a Leo Santa Cruz, to a Rolly Romero.
He's still an unbeaten fighter. He didn't lose those fights, but in those fights, he did lose a couple of rounds here and there.
Is it alarming that he's losing rounds to those caliber of fighters?
Fighters of that ilk.
Because those ain't A-level fighters. Those are B and C-level fighters, at best. And that's putting it lightly. That's being generous. Guys like Mario Barrios, guys like Rolly Romero. Should you even lose so much as a round to guys like that?
Gervonta Davis, he's got a couple of court cases. I think he's got one this month and another one in December.
Possible hindrances that could impede negotiations? I think so. I mean, if the guy's possibly facing jail time, that would certainly dampen his plans to take on Ryan Garcia, assuming he plans to, at the end of this year. We'll see. It would be a terrible advertisement for both fighters if they've spent this much time hinting at a year-end showdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good look. They've spent a long time now dangling this carrot in front of their fans.
Not exactly a great advertisement for either of them if they've spent that much time doing that just to not deliver this fight towards the end of the year, as they are the ones who created that expectation.
Yeah, they're the ones that keep talking about it.
And hinting at it. So you've spent all these weeks and months hinting at it and hinting at it for what? So that at the end of the year it doesn't happen?
I won't make bold proclamations. I won't jump to conclusions. We'll see if they can deliver this thing.
But But it would be a piss-poor display to spend this much time hinting at a year-end showdown just for one not to take place, for one not to happen. Massive waste of everyone's time.
I guess the silver lining is that we're not hearing about negotiations between Ryan and some other fighter or Gervonta and some other fighter.
And that might serve us as some semblance of hope that there is something going on between them, something going on between the Garcia people and the Davis people. The fact that neither fighter is linked to any other fight.
I mean, it's a good fight. It's an intriguing fight. It has the potential to be a commercially successful fight.
Very successful. The disconnect, however, is that the winner of this fight is, in fact, the top dog, the authority, at 135 pounds, when Gervonta Davis's body of work as a lightweight is limited to 3 fights. Just 3 fights, really. The Gamboa fight, the
Isaac Cruz fight, and the Rolly Romero fight. He's only fought as a lightweight 3 times. Ryan hasn't even
fought for an alphabet title yet, a full-fledged alphabet title. By all accounts, Ryan Garcia is somewhere in between a prospect and a contender.
When you think about it, neither Ryan Garcia or Gervonta Davis have fought for a primary title, a full-fledged title, in the lightweight division.
As big as this fight might be, the winner isn't necessarily the authority at 135 pounds. That would be Davis-Haney, at least right now.
It's assuming he beats George again. Most people think he can. Most people think he will.
Speaking of Gervonta Davis, who I just talked about, Haney shreds him. He says he doesn't want to fight nobody. It's been like that for a while now.
That largely in part contributes to the pessimism Davis versus Garcia receives as a fight.
Gervonta Davis doesn't actually fight big-name opponents. We all know that Tank isn't going to fight nobody. Haney said during an interview with Behind the Gloves. He doesn't want to fight anybody. It's been like that for a while now, so the more realistic fight is Lomachenko, speaking for himself. Davis, 27, remains an impractical option for Haney due to a bevy of reasons, mainly their promotional ties. Nevertheless, a matchup against Lomachenko has protruded to the forefront. In what will be his first appearance in the ring in nearly a year, Lomachenko is officially set to take on Jermaine Ortiz on October 29th. Bob Arum, both Haney and Lomachenko's current promoter, has already expressed his desire to match the pair against one another in the first half of 2023.
How does it reflect on Gervonta Davis that...
How would it reflect on him and his team that Davis versus Lomachenko was a hot topic, a conversation for many years, but it may end up being Devin?
I mean, think about it. If Devin actually gets in the ring with Loma, that would mean that so far, Lopez fought Lomachenko. Devin is set to fight Lomachenko.
What's Gervonta Davis doing? Right. He's supposed to be fighting Ryan Garcia.
And let's hope that he does, because if he doesn't...
How's that gonna look? I don't know, said Haney when asked if Lomachenko will pick up the win against Ortiz. I don't really know much about Ortiz, to be honest. We gotta see how he holds up against, coming out of the war and the environment that he was in. So, we'll see.
Opposite Jermaine Ortiz, a southpaw, young guy, strong guy who's coming off a signature win over former champion Jamel Herring.
A part of me is pulling for Vasyl Lomachenko to make it through Ortiz, because that would finally get us the Davis-Haney versus Vasyl Lomachenko fight. I've been waiting to see that fight for some years now. We may finally be on the eve of it, so long as Loma can make it past Ortiz.
But you see, this is what I mean. This is what I'm talking about.
Ryan and Gervonta can sit in their bubble teasing their fans about a potential fight between them. But nobody's suffering. No one is starving because they can't get a Ryan Garcia fight or they can't get a Gervonta Davis fight. Both Davis-Haney and Vasyl Lomachenko and Shakur Stevenson, who's set to be moving up to lightweight very soon as his very next fight.
Ryan and Gervonta can sit in their bubble as long as they want to, as long as they like, because they're not holding anything up.
Neither one of them is in possession of any major alphabet titles. Gervonta Davis is only in possession of a secondary title that he could use if he wanted to.
A WBA baby belt he could use as a segue to challenge the winner of Haney versus Kambosos II for all the belts, for all the marbles.
But he doesn't seem all that interested in Devin's belts. He doesn't seem interested in doing that. Him and his team, they seem more interested in a Ryan Garcia fight. And they can be interested. It's no sweat off of my back. It's no sweat off of Devin's. He's got other fights he can have. Multi-million-dollar fights he can have. Because what doesn't often get said is, it's not like Devin isn't getting multi-million-dollar paydays. He is.
Shakur Stevenson made something like $3 million fighting Robson Conceição.
So Lomachenko, who's set to return to action very soon. If he makes it past Ortiz, he's got a real big payday in front of him in a potential Davis-Haney showdown. And if Ortiz beats him, if it happens the other way and Ortiz upsets the apple cart for Loma, the same applies to him. And this is what I'm always telling you guys. This is what I'm getting at. Ryan is a popular kid.
He is.
So is Gervonta Davis.
He is.
And a fight between them, it would be a big fight, a commercially successful fight. It would be. But in spite of all of that, they're not actually the center of the lightweight universe. No one is starving. Nobody's missing out on anything for not landing a Ryan Garcia fight or landing a Gervonta Davis fight. There are other fights that can have.
There are other fights that can happen, other fights they can have that'll put a lot of money in their pocket.
So if Ryan and Gervonta want to dangle that carrot in front of their fans, tease at a fight between them, stay inside of that bubble, swerving everyone else, they can do that because they're really not affecting the state of the weight class anyway, the state of the division, as neither one of them is in possession of any major alphabet titles.
Davis-Haney's set to be locking horns with George Kambosos for the second time this weekend.
And not to sound presumptuous, but I actually like Davis-Haney's chances just as much, if not more than I liked his chances ahead of the first fight. I don't think George can change all that much after just one fight to where...
The most he can do is perhaps apply more pressure, throw more punches, open up more.
The problem with that is if he opens up more, he's subject to more counter shots. He might get hit more.
Countered more. Maybe he gets dropped. Maybe he gets stopped.
Maybe. I don't imagine he can change all that much from one fight going into the next to where he's a lock to win his belts back, where he can secure the W. I don't think so. I think Devin's going to be all right after this weekend.
And here's the kicker. Even if he isn't, even if George Kambosos shocks the world in Australia this Saturday,
the division's going to be all right, because then he'll have to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. Then he will beat Vasyl Lomachenko's primary target, his primary option moving forward. In a nutshell, the division won't be robbed of super fights based on Ryan Garcia or Gervonta Davis freezing everyone else out. They exist in a universe parallel to the lightweight division, though not a part of it.
Forget about it. It's not going to be nothing like that shit show going on up there at welterweight, to where nothing's happening.
It's not going to be like that. It's not going to be like that other shit show going on up there at 160 pounds, where all those guys seem to find a reason to not fight each other for one reason or another. No, Davis-Haney wants big fights. So does Vasyl Lomachenko. So does Shakur Stevenson. Jermaine Ortiz, this new kid, he's coming into the biggest fight of his career. The rest of his career is on the other side of this Vasyl Lomachenko fight.
He beats that guy, he's in the conversation. There are any number of fights you can make at lightweight right now that don't even involve Ryan Garcia or Gervonta Davis because they're not needed.
Even if both boys have a little bit of marquee value individually, a little bit, all on their own, and even if a fight between them would be a big fight, a major fight, nobody's out in the cold because they can't get Ryan, and nobody's out in the cold because they can't get Gervonta. There are still options for every single one of these young guys between 135 and as high up as 140 pounds.
Say Davis-Haney's done at lightweight. He doesn't want to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. He can move up to super lightweight and target Teofimo Lopez.
Yet another super fight that can be made with minimal friction.
So listen, Ryan and Gervonta, they can stay in their bubble.
They can do whatever they want. Nobody needs them anyway. And just in keeping with the theme of news at or around these weights, per tweet from Michael Benson, Teofimo Lopez versus Jose Pedraza. Former two-division champion Jose Pedraza is reportedly being finalized for a super lightweight clash on December 10th in New York, per tweet from Mike Coppinger via his sources.
So he's not fighting Arnold Barboza.
After the Kambosos fight earlier this year, which heralded Teofimo Lopez's 140-pound debut, post-fight you could hear Teofimo Lopez saying he doesn't want to fight that bum, quote-unquote, Arnold Barboza. Unbeaten Arnold Barboza, who's had his eye on Teofimo Lopez for quite some time now. And I see no reason why Teofimo should have any aversion to facing Arnold Barboza.
Arnold's not a bad fighter. If you got time for Pedraza, why wouldn't you have time for Barboza?
It seems that Teofimo Lopez would prefer to take on Jose Pedraza, who used to be a champion at lightweight, the same way that Teofimo used to be a champion at lightweight.
He's still easing himself into the super lightweight division. That's what this communicates to me.
It's what that heralds. He's not quite ready to take the plunge and take on on riskier fights against riskier opponents. Arnold Barboza among them. Jose Pedraza, he's been up there at super lightweight for a while now. He took on Jose Zapata, lost that fight, lost the fight to Jose Ramirez. More recently, he took on former lightweight champion Richard Comey.
He's up there at 140 pounds now. They fought to a draw.
After the decision was announced, I figured that Jose Pedraza would be in the running for a Teofimo Lopez fight, but they didn't stage that fight for no reason. In the tri-state area,
There's a lot of Puerto Ricans in New York City. Jose Pedraza, he's a Puerto Rican.
Teofimo Lopez, also being a former New York native, I'm pretty sure he doesn't reside there now. You can see the hierarchy of thought, the logic that goes into putting a fight like this together. It caters to Teofimo Lopez's needs and wants at this stage in his career when he's easing himself back into activity and integrating himself into today's super lightweight division.
Yeah, but where's that leave Arnold Barboza? I mean, can't you make an argument that Teofimo is ducking Arnold Barboza?
Well, the argument is there for anyone who wants to make it, though. You know what you could do with this thing? You could put Arnold Barboza on the undercard of this fight and match him against Richard Comey, who would serve as a common opponent between Arnold and Teofimo.
Adequate build-up for a fight between them the following year, because they're gonna have to fight.
Teofimo can keep busy with Jose Pedraza now, but after a while, people are going to start to notice if he don't fight Arnold Barboza, there must be something about that guy he really don't like.
And if Arnold becomes more and more vocal about how much he wants to get Teofimo in the ring, that just adds to it.
I'm sure we're going to be hearing from Arnold Barboza and how he feels about this matchup. Pretty sure he feels like Teofimo is swerving him, as Arnold has made his feelings and his desire to fight Teofimo crystal clear. He wants to get him in the ring. Teofimo, he wants to do other things.
Wants to fight Jose Pedraza. Potential banana skin, you know.
It could be. Jose Pedraza was stopped many years ago in 2017 at the hands of Gervonta Davis. That was down there at 130 pounds, whereas this fight's up there at 140 several years later. And if Teofimo, being as young as he is and having his reputation for being a puncher, if he can't take this guy out,
It's bad press.
if he can't knock out Jose Pedraza several years and several losses after Gervonta Davis already knocked him out, well,
Well, you can imagine what people are going to say. He's got to look good in this fight. If you're going to fight a guy like this...
there's a bar of standard. There is an expectation.
And no, I don't think Jose Pedraza's a pushover. I don't think he's a bad fighter.
Quite the opposite. Time has proven him crafty in his defeats. He still seems a formidable fighter, a guy who still has something left in the tank. But you create an expectation when you're fighting a guy like this.
If you're Teofimo Lopez, you do. There are very few situations he can walk into at this point where there isn't some form of added pressure.
Opposite the ring Arnold Barboza or opposite the ring Jose Pedraza.
There's always some kind of pressure, and there's no getting away from it, no getting around it. All eyes on Teofimo.
They will be, because people are still interested in seeing how he looks as a super lightweight. You don't learn but so much watching him fight a guy like Campos.
Well, I understand that Teofimo needed a rebound fight. Not even criticizing him for it. I'm just saying that now that he's had that rebound fight...
Got expectations. It's the nature of the beast, and they're going to have expectations of Teofimo Lopez.